Hello family. Welcome to Brandon Tales, your home for gripping African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Now sit back and enjoy the drama. Alina stood at the foot of the grand glass doors, her heart thudding in her chest like a tribal drum. Outside, the Lagos skyline glittered beneath a violet dusk, as if the city itself awaited a secret. She wiped a bead of sweat from her brow despite the evening breeze. Her thrifted black gown clung to her frame, its modest design a testament to her budget-conscious lifestyle, yet she wore it with an air of dignity that no designer label could replicate. Taking a deep breath, she smoothed the fabric at her waist, chest rising and falling deliberately to calm her nerves. This was her moment. 6 months of sleepless nights and relentless code, of whispered dreams and stubborn hope, had led her here, to the SkyTech launch gala, the most exclusive event in the world of AI innovation. Invitations were rumored to be burned before reading keepsakes, handed only to legends and brand ambassadors. And yet, here she was, clutching a single metallic envelope bearing AD. The doorman, a tall figure in a midnight blue uniform, nodded at her without a smile. Alina showed the envelope, held it with steady fingers. He examined it under the soft glow of the chandelier, then snapped it shut. "Welcome," he said, voice as neutral as polished marble. She passed through the doors into a world she barely recognized. Crystal chandeliers hung in geometric patterns, reflecting prisms of light that danced across the walls. Holographic projections of flowing code spiraled above the crowd. A string quartet played a classical piece with a modern electronic beat. The air smelled of jasmine and subtle ozone, an odd but intoxicating combination. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. Every gaze felt like a searchlight, bright lenses scanning her gown, her purse, the modest way her hair framed her face. She inched forward, hugging the perimeter of the ballroom. Champagne flutes slipped from invisible trays into grateful palms. Influencers in shimmering gowns posed for paparazzi against neon-lit backdrops. Venture capitalists debated in tight circles. And at the center, a massive digital sculpture pulsed like a living heartbeat. Alina's throat tightened. Whenever she encountered someone who recognized her, their eyes flicked away. No one knew her. She was both invisible and absurdly exposed. She moved toward the bar, determined to remain unseen. Her plan was simple: wait for the signal. She summoned the memory of the message that had arrived 30 minutes ago, as she stood backstage by a simple wooden door at SkyTech headquarters. "MB, stay calm. Stick to the wall. You'll get your cue." She slipped the phone into her clutch. "Trust the plan. Trust Marcus Bell." Before she reached the bar, a familiar voice cut through the clinking glass and muted conversation. "Wait, Alina?" Her pulse tripled. She turned. Liam, her ex, stood with Bianca, his latest arm candy. Lightning had crackled between them the night they broke up. Now his smile was a predator's, sharp and gleaming. Alina stood rigid. "Liam." He glanced past her, lips curling. "Who even invited her?" he said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "She's probably someone's plus one. Or a stray." Bianca's laughter bubbled over. "Honestly, who is she?" She lifted her chin, motioning to Alina's purse as if it marked her as a charity case. They were surrounded by onlookers. Whispers spread, "plus one. Nobody knows her." Cameras flashed. Alina felt her cheeks burn. She forced a calm tone. "Good evening." Dismissive, polite. Then turned on her heel and walked away. Their laughter followed her, echoing against marble columns. Each step felt heavier, but her chin remained high. She would not give them the satisfaction of a reaction. She reached the bar and waited her turn. The bartender, a slender man in a crisp white vest, raised an eyebrow but said nothing when she ordered sparkling water. He poured the liquid with precise hands, as though serving liquid diamonds. Alina lifted the glass, relishing the cool burn as she sipped. The tang of mineral water grounded her. Behind her, a voice spoke. "You okay?" Startled, she turned to see a young journalist with a tablet adorned with the SkyTech logo. He wore a badge, press. His face was kind, curiosity mingling with duty. Alina nodded. "Fine. Just gathering thoughts." She offered a small smile. He nodded. You look out of place, though impressive. Name's Tolu. I've been following tonight's headlines. He paused, lowering his voice. You're not the typical guest here. She swallowed. Definitely not. His curiosity gleamed. Are you here for a reason beyond networking? This place is more secret handshake than open invite. She cocked an eyebrow. You know about the unannounced guest? He laughed softly. Word circulates fast in our world. Before she could respond, Bianca's voice rang out again, sharp as shattered glass. Look at her. Standing there alone. She leaned into Liam. Should we introduce ourselves? Or scare her off first? Liam crossed his arms, amused. Only if she's worth our time. Alina's veins thrummed with cold fury. She raised her glass in a mock toast to the crowd. Cheers, she said softly, voice steady. To being underestimated. They blinked at her. Cameras whipped around. A hush fell. For a moment, the world paused. But then a waiter bumped her shoulder, and she spilled a drop of water onto her hand. Nothing dramatic, but enough to break the spell. The bartender offered napkins, and Tolu muttered an apology as he scuttled off to cover something urgent. Suddenly, memories flooded her mind. She saw herself at 12, teaching herself HTML on an old family computer, her father's encouraging voice in the background. She remembered her mother leaving her note on the breakfast table, telling her never to let anyone dismiss her dreams. Every late-night hacking at Codethons, every disappointed investor, every closed door, it led here. She felt the weight of every moment press into her chest and push her forward with renewed conviction. Alina set the glass down, heart pounding. Her phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen. Now. She knew the code. She left the bar, weaving through clusters of guests until she reached a less crowded corridor. The walls were lined with screens displaying SkyTech's slogan, Innovation through Inclusion. A slogan, she thought, that would soon have real meaning. At the end of the hall, she found a narrow staircase leading up to a glass terrace. The doors hissed open. Outside, the night air smelled of rain and city lights. Lego stretched in all directions, a tapestry of neon veins and concrete arteries. Alina leaned against the railing, pressing her phone to her ear like a lifeline. Alina, I'm in position. The line crackled. Then Marcus's voice, calm and measured, came through. MB, perfect. Wait for the announcement. When I say your name, step forward. Just walk. Her heart pounded. She glanced back toward the ballroom's glowing entrance. Through the glass, movement and laughter continued, oblivious. The wind tugged at a loose strand of her hair, carrying the distant hum of conversation and the faint echo of a piano chord drifting from below. She closed her eyes and breathed in the scent of wet stone and electric promise. Somewhere, a night bird called, its song a reminder that the night was alive with possibility. Each breath tasted like opportunity and consequence intertwined. She exhaled, steadying herself. Understood. She opened her eyes and looked at her reflection in the dark windowpane. There, she saw the mixture of fear and determination shining back. It was the face of someone who had fought invisibility for too long and was ready to claim her place. With her shoes grounded on the transparent floor, Alina felt a surge of purpose. Steps will echo across the stage and beyond. Tonight, her voice would break the silence, every underestimated coder along with her. Alina leaned against the cool marble ledge of the terrace, her heart still racing from the chaos below. The soft hum of the gala drifted upward, an intoxicating blend of laughter, music, and tinkling glass. She pressed her phone to her ear, listening to the distant echo of conversation. The lights inside flickered like fireflies, each one representing a person who judged her in a single glance. She remembered Bianca's cruel words as if they were a physical blow. Hope that's not your only dress, Bianca had taunted, champagne dripping onto Alina's hem. The look on Liam's face had been a mixture of amusement and disdain, as though he had placed a bet on her humiliation and was already planning his victory celebration. Alina took a long breath, letting the cool night air wash away the sting. She had faced rejection before. Late nights pitching investors who didn't return her calls. classroom presentations where professors dismissed her ideas. Even the playground taunts in her childhood had prepared her for this moment of public embarrassment. But this was different. This blow had come in the presence of the world's most powerful tech elite. Her phone vibrated. A single message from MB, "Don't worry. Your moment is coming. Stay ready." She closed her eyes, picturing Marcus Bell's calm confidence. 6 months ago, he had asked her to demo Nivea. He had listened, truly listened, for 2 hours. That night he became her silent shepherd, guiding her through obscure mentorship and discreet coaching. He believed in her when no one else would. And tonight, in this sea of glaring judgment, she would prove that belief was not misplaced. Alina stepped back into the ballroom like a specter emerging from the shadows. The warmth of the crowd hit her, perfume, cologne, body heat. Conversations paused as she passed, whispers trailing behind her like silk ribbons. She walked with purpose toward the service station near the bar, keeping her eyes lowered. A waiter offered her a tray of hors d'oeuvres she did not desire. Another handed a fresh glass of champagne, crisp, clear, untouched. Bianca's voice sliced through the murmurs again. "Look," she whispered to a neighbor, pointing discreetly at Alina's trembling hand around the flute. "She's pretending to enjoy it." The neighbor pursed her lips. "Such bravery," she murmured with false admiration. "Or idiocy." The waiter recoiled slightly, his polite mask slipping. Alina swallowed the champagne in a single, calculated gulp. It burned, and she savored the moment, the acrid taste like retribution against their mockery. She set the glass down and took a single potato puff, forcing cheer into her expression. A soft voice called, "Alina?" She turned to find Talou, the journalist, standing a few feet away, his tablet glowing with unread messages. Concern flickered in his eyes. "This party isn't kind," he said quietly. "You know that, right?" She nodded, abandoning caution. "I know, but I also know how to survive it." He raised an eyebrow. "Is this part of a plan?" She considered lying, but trust flickered between them. "Yes, but not mine entirely." His eyes widened. "Marcus Bell's? They say he's orchestrating a big reveal." She forced a shrug. "Perhaps. I can help," Talou offered. "I have connections with the media. If I'm in on it, the coverage would be less chaotic." Alina studied him. He seemed genuine. Still, she could not reveal too much. "No. This has to be my moment. But thank you." Talou nodded, respectful. "Understood. Good luck." She watched him melt back into the crowd, his shoulders hunched with tales to tell later. Alina's fingers drifted to her purse where her phone lay hidden. A subtle tap sent another query to Marcus. "Are we still on?" The reply came instantly, "Yes." She exhaled. So she felt her pulse steadying as the initial surge of adrenaline drained. Her smartwatch glowed softly beneath her sleeve, counting down the seconds until her signal. She allowed herself a quiet smile. Anticipation was a privilege she earned. The scent of jasmine from towering floral arrangements drifted through the air, mingling with the faint ozone of experimental drones hovering in the corners. The plush carpet underfoot offered no comfort. Each step reminded her of the humble materials she had to stretch to create Nivea's first prototype. Every seam in her dress was a testament to her resourcefulness. Memory flickered to the first time she met Liam, freshman orientation, an impromptu hackathon in a campus lounge. He had leaned over her laptop, glanced at her code, and smirked, "Good luck running that in the real world." The dismissal had stung, igniting a fire beneath her ribs that propelled her through sleepless nights and endless debugging. Her fingers tingled as she recalled the sensation of typing that first line of code which formed the skeleton of her AI. The rhythmic click of keys, the warm hum of her laptop fan. This was where she felt seen and in control. A distant murmur rose from the gallery below, a reminder she stood on borrowed time. Every polished surface in this ballroom existed to celebrate triumphs, not unseen struggles. But tonight would change that. This is her redemption arc. Her hands tingled with warmth, synchronized with the subtle green glow of her smartwatch, which quietly measured her heartbeat. Each pulse recorded a story of resilience, a lifetime of proving herself, one algorithm at a time. She flexed her fingers, feeling the cool fabric of her dress slide against her skin, a reminder of how far she had come. She remembered her grandmother's voice, soft and rhythmic, telling tales of courageous women who defied expectation. Grandma had whispered, "Strength is born in silence." That silence had shaped Alina's resolve, forging an inner fortress against doubt and scorn. Imagination painted the code she had written, floating before her eyes like glowing threads. She envisioned layers of neural networks, each node trained on audio patterns, streets mapped in vibrations. In her mind's eye, visually impaired users navigated bustling markets and narrow walkways with confidence, guided by her creation. She scanned the crowd from memory, investor couples leaning in conspiratorially, speculators tapping phones, early adopters hungrily eyeing every new innovation. They all wanted the next big breakthrough. They would claim credit, attach logos to her work, but none would match its soul. Slack notifications and Telegram pings reminded her of her remote team's excitement. Messages of encouragement popped up on her phone, "Almost time," and "You've got this." Their belief added layers to her armor, each pixel of text a shield against ridicule. A flashback to a small community hackathon surfaced. She presented Navia on a shaky projector to a half-empty room. No applause followed, just polite nods. She almost dismantled her prototype that night. But a gentle tap on her shoulder, her uncle's unwavering pride, kept her moving forward. Tonight, the world would witness the spark that ignites change. She was ready to step forward, not as an underdog, but as a harbinger of a new era in inclusive technology. She straightened her spine. For a moment, she let her gaze drift across the assembled crowd, the woman in blue sequins swirling champagne, the startup founder scribbling notes on a napkin, the security guards scanning IDs. They all believed they controlled this night. They had no idea what was coming. Memory flickered of her mother's last words. "When you allow them to define you, you give them power." She had tucked that advice into her breast pocket like a talisman. Tonight, she would show them the power they refused to acknowledge. Suddenly, the lights dimmed as the string quartet fell silent. A hush spread across the room. Conversations halted in mid-word. Heads turned toward the stage at the far end of the ballroom, where a single spotlight flickered to life above a gleaming podium. 6 months before the SkyTech gala, Alina Ease sat hunched over a battered laptop in a cramped co-working space tucked between dusty bookshops and street food stalls in central Lagos. Fluorescent bulbs overhead flickered, casting jittery shadows on rows of desks cluttered with tangled cables, half-empty coffee cups, and scribbled notebooks. The murmur of fellow entrepreneurs, pitching ideas or arguing over prototypes, buzzed like an overworked circuit board. Alina rubbed her temples, blinking at lines of Python code that scrolled endlessly across the screen. Navia, her bold AI navigation assistant for the visually impaired, felt both miraculous and fragile in that moment, an electric promise barely held together by dreams and debug logs. Since her final year at Obafemi Awolowo University, Alina had poured every waking hour into Navia. Classroom lectures blurred into late-night hackathons. She skipped weekend outings and birthday parties, driven by a single vision, to give blind users the freedom to navigate chaotic city streets independently. But despite her passion, Navia's prototype remained temperamental. It misread rain as obstacles, mistook market chatter for hazards, and at times refused to recognize simple landmarks. She stared at the code, muttering, "Identify curb ahead," and waited. A hesitant chirp answered. Her chest tightened with frustration. "Need a break?" A familiar voice nudged her shoulder. Ifeoma Okaro, her co-founder and roommate, offered a steaming cup of hibiscus tea. "You've been at this since dawn." Alina forced a grateful smile. "I promise one quick fix, then I'll rest." She blew on the tea and inhaled its tart warmth. Outside, the roar of Danfo buses and hawkers' chants drifted through open windows. The city's pulse anchored her, reminding her why she had chosen this path. As a child, she had watched her uncle, blind since youth, navigate the same streets with a weathered ebony cane. His confidence in the face of tumbling market stalls and sudden traffic taught her that technology needed humanity, not just algorithms. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unrecognized number. Demo tonight at 9 p.m.? Marcus Bell wants to see Nevia. Her breath caught. Marcus Bell, the legendary tech billionaire renowned for zero public appearances and selective investments. She stared at the screen, disbelief warring with hope. Ifioma peered over. You're not dreaming? Alina's fingers trembled as she typed, I'll be there. She hit send, then exhaled hard, her heart racing as if it might burst free from her chest. As dusk fell, the co-working space emptied until only a handful of late-night coders remained, heads bowed over glowing screens. Alina gathered her gear, a compact LiDAR sensor, bone conduction headphones, a tablet running Nevia's interface, and her laptop. She arranged a makeshift obstacle course with stacked cardboard boxes and plastic cones. Every step felt surreal. She was moving toward a moment that might change everything. At precisely 9, the door swung open. Footsteps echoed on the tiled floor. She looked up to see a tall man in a charcoal suit, his silver-flecked hair subtly illuminated by the fluorescent lights. He held a leather briefcase stamped with MB, her breath hitched. Ms. Eves? His voice was measured, curious. Alina steadied herself. Yes, sir. I'm grateful for your time. He nodded and set down the briefcase. Show me Nevia. She guided him through a concise tutorial, how Nevia translated real-time audio into spatial cues, how to calibrate it for ambient noise, and how to adapt to crowded environments. She placed the headphones on him. His brow furrowed as he listened. Walk forward, she instructed. 2 steps forward. Obstacle right. Came the crisp, gender-neutral voice of Nevia. He navigated the boxes with surprising ease. When he removed the headphones, his eyes gleamed with interest. Impressive, he said quietly. Alina's lips parted, but she kept her voice calm. Thank you, sir. I'm still refining the algorithms for urban density. He tapped his phone. Moments later, her banking app pinged. 10 million Nigerian nairas credited. Tears stung her eyes. I don't know what to say. He placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Keep building. Your work matters. Over the next weeks, Marcus Bell's mentorship became the backbone of her journey. He never imposed deadlines, but he insisted on rigorous discipline. They spoke every Tuesday at dawn. He challenged her to gather more acoustic data, to analyze traffic patterns in satellite imagery, and to partner with local clinics for real-world testing. Technology without real users is just fiction, he reminded her. Alina embraced every suggestion. She spent mornings coding new noise cancellation filters, afternoons in community clinics where blind students tested Nevia's prompts, and evenings scribbling revisions in a battered leather journal. She recalled one afternoon at a rehabilitation center when Simon, a young entrepreneur who had lost his sight in a car accident, strapped on Nevia and traversed the corridor. He paused at a faded classroom door, tears welling. This changes everything, he whispered, voice thick with emotion. His hope became fuel for her long nights. She integrated multiple languages, Yoruba, Igbo, and Pidgin, into Nevia's interface so every user felt at home. She fortified hardware enclosures with weather-resistant seals and negotiated with a local workshop to produce affordable sensor housings. She navigated academic assignments and family obligations with equal intensity, crafting code during lecture breaks and debugging during power outages. Her mother, Adana, delivered pots of egusi soup to the co-working space with notes stuffed into her apron pocket. My daughter, you are changing lives. Her father, a retired teacher, drafted white papers explaining Nevia's neural network architecture. Her younger brother, Chaik, volunteered as a beta tester, giggling when Nevia guided him around coffee tables blindfolded. Each family member became a pillar of support. Even so, challenges persisted. Pitch meetings with venture capitalists exposed her to a world driven by profit margins. One suave investor suggested pivoting Nevia toward luxury tourism, guiding wealthy shoppers through high-end malls. Bigger returns, he said. Alina's stomach nodded. She remembered Marcus's voice. Innovation without empathy is empty. She declined, keeping social impact at Nevia's core. By the 4th month, Nevia had achieved 90% obstacle detection accuracy, with latency under 50 milliseconds. With legal advice from Marcus's network, she filed her first patent. She formed a partnership with a local NGO to distribute pilot units to 5 visually impaired users across Lagos and Ibadan. Each successful test strengthened her resolve. Each setback taught her resilience. Now, as she packed her prototype into a sleek case for the SkyTech gala, she felt the weight of her journey. She remembered long bus rides on rattling minibuses through dusty streets, clutching her tablet and jotting algorithm tweaks on the go. She recalled blindfold experiments in high school, stumbling until guided by empathic voices. She remembered that childhood science fair where her grandmother had pressed her hand, whispering, "Purpose is found in service." She closed her eyes and breathed deeply, steadying herself. Marcus's final words echoed, "When they doubt you, let your work speak." She tapped the case shut, slung it over her shoulder, and whispered, "I'm ready." As the elevator doors closed, carrying her toward the gala's glittering heights, Alina felt an odd mixture of fear and exhilaration. In 6 short months, she had gone from invisible coder to the guarded secret of a reclusive billionaire. Across thousands of lines of code and hundreds of sleepless nights, she had woven humanity into every algorithm. Today, the world would see why no one knew her until they did. All these milestones, Alina never forgot the sound of her grandmother's lullabies drifting through their living room. She would pull out a battered recorder and capture those soft melodies, a reminder that accessibility was not just technology but truly deeply human. Late one night, during a call, Marcus asked about her motivations. She spoke of her roots, of childhood afternoons navigating her neighborhood blindfolded for a school project, of performing sightless walks guided by her cousin's voice. Her voice trembled. "I want Navia to be the cousin's voice, the guiding hand when no one else can see." He remained silent a heartbeat, then said, "That is why this matters." She remembered that reassurance more vividly than any code snippet. Those moments fueled her passion during long bus rides across dusty roads to meet pilot users at rehabilitation centers. She traveled atop minibuses, explaining algorithms to discerning clinicians. Each conversation refined her empathy. Each test strengthened her resolve. She realized Navia was more than an app. It was her way of weaving humanity into every line of code. Her grandmother's legacy guided every keystroke and design decision unwaveringly. The lights in the grand SkyTech ballroom dimmed, drawing every eye toward the elevated stage at the room's far end. A single spotlight pulsated, as if taking a breath before the arrival of something monumental. The hubbub of conversation and clinking glass faded into an anticipatory hush. Alina, standing near the edge of the crowd, felt her pulse thunder. She tilted her head, focusing on the stage's polished wood floor as if it might whisper its secret timing. Moments later, a hush deeper than silence took hold as a tall figure emerged from the wings. Dressed in a tailored charcoal suit that seemed to absorb the light around him, Marcus Bell stepped into the glow with deliberate calm. His silver hair caught the spotlight like threads of starlight, and for a heartbeat, the world held its breath in his radiance. He moved to the podium with quiet authority, each step measured, resonant with impact. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Someone gasped. A group of analysts near the front rows jostled their colleagues. "It's him," one whispered. "He never appears." Bianca clutched Liam's arm so tightly her nails left impressions. "Did you hear? He's here in person." Liam, face pale with surprise, nodded, his earlier arrogance giving way to speculation. "This is unprecedented." Marcus raised a hand, and instantaneous silence fell. The tense hush reminded Alina of a library where forbidden knowledge hovered at the threshold, waiting for permission to emerge. The only sound was the barely audible hum of the venue's acoustic dampeners and the faint thrum of her own heartbeat. He leaned forward and tapped the microphone. The device responded with a crisp echo. "Good evening," Marcus began, his baritone voice calm and precise. "Thank you for joining us tonight at the SkyTech Annual Launch Gala. As you know, this event showcases breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, our dreams shaped by lines of code, our future written in algorithms." He paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. The gentle glow of crystal chandeliers bathed his features in a warm light, revealing a face sculpted by determination and tempered with humanity. But tonight, he continued, we will celebrate more than just advancements in technology. We will celebrate the people whose vision and courage drive innovation forward. He let his gaze travel across the audience. I'm often accused of secrecy. Rarely do I invest in individuals. Often, I invest in ideas or projects vetted through endless committees. But some encounters change everything. The crowd leaned in. Cameras whirred. Alina felt the collective intake of breath as if the room itself recognized the significance. 6 months ago, Marcus said, I met a developer whose passion for accessibility struck me with its clarity. He turned slightly, raising his hand toward the crowd's edge. Her name is Alina Ease. A spark of recognition ignited in the audience. Heads turned in Alina's direction. Bianca's jaw dropped. Liam's smirk froze halfway across his face. Whispers flared into full-throated astonishment. Alina Ease? She's here. Alina's chest tightened. She stood perfectly still, breath caught in her throat. Never had she imagined an introduction like this. No small talk, no hesitant applause. Just a direct step into the light. Marcus lowered his hand and smiled, the gesture more genuine than any corporate facade. Alina, come join me. The applause erupted like a wave, thunderous and unrestrained. Alina's legs trembled as she stepped forward, weaving through stunned guests who parted like shifting sea walls. The corridor of eyes burned with curiosity, admiration, and envy. Each footfall felt heavier, weighted by significance. As she reached the stage, the spotlight embraced her. The polished wood gleamed beneath her shoes, and for a moment, nothing existed beyond the resonance of her own breath. Marcus offered his hand with unmistakable sincerity. Welcome, Alina. She took his hand, letting his steady grip anchor her swirling emotions. His presence exuded quiet confidence, a reminder of the first night they met 6 months ago in that drafty co-working space. She nodded, voice steady as she stepped beside him. The applause subsided into an expectant silence. Crystal glasses hovered midair as cameras snapped. Marcus gestured to the sleek podium. Alina will share with us the future she has built. He leaned back, stepping aside to let her take center stage. Alina's gaze swept over the sea of faces, venture capitalists in designer suits, influencers framing videos on their smartphones, engineers tapping notes into tablets. Beyond them, the technical team manned banks of screens tracking server performance and social media trends. Even the security detail paused in disciplined formation to witness her moment. She cleared her throat and pressed the microphone. The static crackle dried up instantly, as if welcoming her voice. Thank you, Marcus, she began, voice firm though her heart fluttered. Good evening, everyone. I never expected to stand here tonight. 6 months ago, Navia was an idea scribbled on scrap paper, fueled by personal conviction and a dream of change. Her gaze found Bianca and Liam. Bianca's mouth gaped, eyes wide with confusion and envy. Liam looked away, unable to steal his arrogance. Alina continued, drawing strength from the hush. Navia is more than technology, she said, clicking a remote. The massive screen behind her lit up with an animated logo, a stylized ear and map pin intertwined. It's a lifeline for people who navigate darkness daily. It translates soundscapes into directional cues, helping visually impaired users traverse urban landscapes with dignity and independence. The screen displayed an app interface, a circular radar that pulsed with green blips representing upcoming features, crosswalk signals, sidewalk drops, obstacle alerts. A demo video played, showing an elderly blind man gliding through a crowded market, guided solely by Navia's gentle voice. 5 steps forward. Ramp ascending. Obstacle ahead, vendor table to your right. The audience watched in rapt focus. A murmur of appreciation rippled across the room. Some whispered about integration potential with autonomous vehicles. Others nodded at market accessibility. Alina felt the tension melt, replaced by a steady stream of excitement. Accessibility isn't charity, she continued, voice strengthening. It's innovation. It's recognizing that true progress leaves no one behind. When we empower every member of society, we elevate all of humanity. Applause rolled through the crowd, building momentum like thunder. Smartphones raised to record. Pepper spray, tiny robots lined the walls, flickered LED approval. The media team captured every angle. Marcus stepped close, nodding in silent support. Alina touched the podium, the grain of the wood grounding her. She dared a glance at Tolu, the journalist, whose astonished thumbs already raced across his tablet, drafting headlines. At that moment, the ballroom lights brightened gradually. The string quartet resumed an ambient melody, softer and more contemplative. Conversation bubbles rose, charged with new energy. Bianca whispered fiercely to Liam, "We should have invited you to the labs, not the party." He clenched his jaw, pride wounded. "Next time." Alina concluded, "Thank you all for believing in a future that sees everyone. Marcus, thank you for seeing me when no one else did." She looked at him, gratitude shining in her eyes. Marcus raised his glass. To Alina ease, and to innovation born from empathy. He drank. The crowd followed, glasses clinking in a resonant chorus. As the applause echoed, Alina felt a profound shift in the atmosphere. She was no longer a ghost in the machine but a beacon of possibility. Investors approached, questions flowing. Cameras flashed. Alina's journey, once defined by rejection, was now charting a course toward acceptance and impact. Below the stage, banners displayed impact projections, hundreds of thousands of users within a year, collaborations with international aid organizations, integration with public transportation systems. Alina felt the responsibility settle on her like a mantle of purpose. The gala continued around her, but Alina remained in her own orbit, a world where passion met opportunity, where technology served humanity. Alina stepped down from the stage, congratulations around her, her mind alight with possibility. The shadow of doubt dissolved under the brilliance of this moment, a moment that would echo after the gala lights faded. Alina stepped into the pool of white light flooding the stage, her pulse thundering as cameras clicked in rapid staccato. Behind her, the massive LED screen glowed with the Nivea logo, an elegant ear intertwined with a map pin. The audience's expectant silence pressed in on every side. She took one last breath, feeling the warmth of hundreds of eyes upon her, and raised her chin. "Good evening," she began, voice steady even as adrenaline coursed through her veins. "I'm Alina Ease, and tonight I'm honored to share with you Nivea, an AI-driven navigation companion for the visually impaired." A hush rippled through the crowd. An older gentleman in a bespoke suit leaned forward, intrigue flickering across his face. A row of tech bloggers tapped furiously at tablets, their live streams already trending. Alina pressed a small button on the podium. Instantly, the screen behind her shifted to a live feed from her tablet, a first-person view through Nivea's interface. The circular radar pulsed with green blips marking obstacles. Text below read, "Approaching curb. Step down 3 inches." "In busy urban settings," she said, "every second counts." Nivea listens to the world, interprets ambient sounds, traffic, crosswalk signals, even street vendors, and translates them into real-time guidance. She tapped again. A pre-recorded demonstration played. A blind user approached a chaotic Lagos bus stop. Nivea's soft voice intoned, 2 steps forward. Bus door on your right. Caution, uneven pavement. The user navigated confidently onto the bus as onlookers gasped. A tech journalist in the front row whispered into a slim microphone clipped to his lapel, "This could revolutionize urban mobility." His words were audible through the hush. Alina smiled. She clicked the remote once more. But Nivea is more than hardware and code. It's designed with empathy. We collaborated with local rehabilitation centers, like Olyamides in Surulere, where users tested early prototypes. The screen switched to footage of Olyamide, a middle-aged man, smiling as Nivea guided him around crates of produce. His voice echoed, "For the first time in years, I walked markets alone." Soft applause greeted that moment. Alina let the emotion settle before continuing. "We've integrated language options, English, Yoruba, Igbo, and Pidgin, so each user feels at home. Our algorithms adapt to ambient noise levels, weather conditions, even cultural soundscapes. Suddenly, a hand shot up in the audience. A distinguished woman in a power blazer stood. "Excuse me, Ms. Ease," she said, voice clear. "What's Nivea's battery life under continuous use?" Alina nodded, grateful for the engagement. "Great question. On our current battery pack, Nivea operates for 8 hours of active use, enough for a full day's commute. And we're testing fast charge modules that restore 80% capacity in 30 minutes. A murmur of approval rolled through the rows. Another voice called, "What's the cost target?" "By partnering with local manufacturers," Alina replied, "we aim to retail Nivea units at under 50,000 Nigerian nairas, far below global competitor prices. And through our NGO partnerships, the first 10,000 units will be subsidized or donated." She sensed momentum building. It was time for the reveal that would shatter expectations. Her heart pounded, but her voice rang clear. Accessibility isn't charity, it's innovation. Real progress happens when we design for everyone, not just the privileged few. At that precise moment, the auditorium doors swung open behind her. Marcus Bell stepped into the peripheral glow, hands casual in his pockets. The audience erupted into astonished applause. Bianca and Liam, seated near the center, staggered as if struck. Bianca's lips parted, Liam's broad confidence cracked. Marcus walked up the aisle, heels clicking against the polished floor. He mounted the stage without hesitation and stood beside Alina, smiling. The roar of the crowd crescendoed. Applause, cheers, cell phone lights waving like fireflies. Marcus raised his hand to still the tumult. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice carrying authority, "I don't often speak at public events. But tonight, I want to acknowledge the person responsible for Nivea's success." He turned to Alina. "Alina isn't just a brilliant innovator. She is my first and only mentee." The audience exploded. Reporters ducked under the stage barrier to capture the moment. Influencers scrambled to tag every social feed. #Alina's, #MarcusBell, #Nivea. Investors elbowed each other, eager to secure partnerships. Alina felt a rush of warmth flood her chest. Yet even as applause thundered, a single voice rose above the rest. It was Liam, stepping forward with a forced grin. "That's incredible, Alina. Truly. Maybe we can collaborate." She turned to him, gaze cool and unreadable. "I appreciate the offer, Liam. But Nivea has the partners it needs." Bianca interjected, voice sharp, "Don't forget who gave you the initial push, Ms. Ease." Her finger jabbed in Marcus's direction. "He's your ticket to the top." Alina smiled, genuinely, compassionately. "Marcus believed in me when no one else would. That was my ticket." She addressed the audience again. "Thank you for believing in Nivea's mission. Together, we can make every city accessible." Another wave of applause washed over her. The stage lights softened, transitioning to warm ambers. Alina and Marcus moved to the edge of the stage, shaking hands with investors and dignitaries lined up to meet them. Below, a cluster of reporters pressed microphones toward Alina. "Alina, can you comment on your next steps? Will SkyTech integrate Nivea into its platforms? How soon can users expect a mass rollout?" She fielded each question with poise. "We're finalizing beta tests in Abuja and Accra next month. From there, we'll expand to Nairobi and Johannesburg. And yes, discussions with SkyTech are underway for API integration." A cameraman stepped close. "Alina, a final thought for aspiring entrepreneurs?" She looked directly into the lens. "Never let doubt speak louder than your vision. When everyone says you can't, that's when you're on the brink of something real." Cutting the feed, she exited the stage with Marcus. Backstage, the technician handed her a damp towel sprayed with rosewater. She dabbed her forehead, the reality of what just happened settling in. "Remarkable," Marcus said softly, elbow brushing hers. "You own that stage." Alina's lips curved in relief. "I've been rehearsing every scenario, but nothing prepared me for reality." He nodded. "You were better than I ever imagined." She looked down at her prototype case in her hand. It felt lighter now, its weight eclipsed by the power it represented. Around them, the backstage corridor buzzed. Producers calling for interviews, sponsors requesting private demos, colleagues offering congratulations. A young assistant approached, voice trembling with excitement. Ms. Ease, the hashtags are already trending worldwide. They're calling you the next-gen genius. Alina allowed herself a breathless laugh. Next-gen genius. I can live with that. Marcus smiled. Let's keep moving forward. Tonight was just the beginning. She squared her shoulders. Tomorrow, we finalize the NGO rollout. The day after, we upload version 2.0. My team is ready. His gaze was warm with pride. Then let's show them what happens when someone no one knew becomes everyone's inspiration. They walked together toward the elevator, the echoes of applause still vibrating through the venue's steel beams. As the doors closed, Alina pressed her cheek against the cool metal, eyes shining with promise. In that fleeting moment of solitude, she whispered to herself, "They know me now, but this is only chapter 1. The night air outside the SkyTech gala still tingled with the afterglow of applause as Alina stepped onto the terrace, her heart still thrumming from the adrenaline of the reveal. Beneath a lattice of LED lights strung between glass towers, she inhaled deep, letting the cool breeze wash away the stage heat. Behind her, the ballroom doors remained open, the murmur of celebrations drifting out in waves of laughter and clinking champagne. In this quiet moment, she let herself feel the weight of what had happened. A single name, Alina Ease, echoing through the world's most exclusive tech gathering. A soft ping from her smartwatch brought her attention back to the present. Notifications flooded in by the dozen, news outlets sharing clips, social media influencers tagging her, investors requesting meetings. A single headline caught her eye. Unknown coder becomes tech world's newest star, billionaire mentor calls her next-gen genius. The words pulsed on her screen, a vindication she had longed for but scarcely believed possible. She tucked the watch beneath her sleeve, determined to savor this moment without distraction. Alina, there you are. Marcus Bell emerged through the terrace doors, his charcoal suit contrasting sharply against the night sky. His expression was one of quiet pride, but his eyes held a playful glint. You've broken the internet. She turned to him, relief and exhilaration colliding in her chest. I saw. It's surreal. She laughed, a sound of pure release. My team is already planning our next steps, but I wanted to say thank you for everything. Marcus nodded, leaning against the glass railing. You did the work. I just shone the spotlight. He paused, then added softly, people will call it mentorship, but I learned more from you in the last 6 months than from any boardroom meeting. Alina smiled, touched by his humility. Then I guess we both win. She glanced over the cityscape, lights stretching to the horizon. It feels like we're standing at the edge of something enormous. He followed her gaze. We are. Nivea isn't just an app now, it's a movement. Tonight was the ignition. They stood together in companionable silence until Alina's thoughts drifted to Liam and Bianca, their sneers, their scorn. She remembered every mocking word, nobody knows her, +1, stray. Her chest warmed, not with anger, but with triumph. She raised her chin slightly. Do you think they understand now? She asked, voice laced with quiet satisfaction. Marcus followed her glance toward the ballroom entrance, where a handful of guests lingered, hesitant to join the after-party crowd. They'll understand, he replied, his tone gentle but firm. And if they don't, they'll regret it. Just then, Tolu the journalist appeared at the terrace doors, phone raised. Ms. Ease, sorry to interrupt. Can I get a few words for the evening segment? Alina took a breath, stepping back inside with Marcus at her side. Tolu's camera light illuminated her face as she offered a calm, confident smile. Alina Ease, founder of Nivea. Tonight, we witnessed the power of inclusive innovation. Nivea is not a niche product, it's a universal right. Technology should uplift every member of society. She glanced toward Marcus. And behind every great innovation is a community of believers. Tolu nodded, lowering his camera. Thank you. This will inspire so many. He slipped away to file his report. Within minutes, they were approached by a delegation of investors led by an energetic young woman in a cobalt blue suit. "Ms. Ease, your presentation was extraordinary," she said briskly. "I represent a consortium interested in expanding Nivea to West African markets beyond Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire. Let's talk logistics." Alina exchanged a satisfied look with Marcus. "Absolutely," she replied, pulling out a notebook. "Let's set up a meeting tomorrow morning." As their conversation turned to rollout timelines and supply chains, Alina felt the momentum of real-world impact surge around her. Further down the terrace, Liam stood alone by a palm planter, phone pressed to his ear in a frantic whisper. Bianca hovered nearby, clutching her designer clutch as though it might shield her from the evening's fallout. They stared across the terrace at Alina, no longer an anonymous guest, but the center of every conversation. Liam lowered his phone, face pale. He approached Alina hesitantly, stopping a respectful distance away. "Alina," he began, voice strained. "Congratulations. That was amazing." His eyes flicked between her and Marcus. I was wrong. You deserve all this." He offered a tentative smile, as though unsure his words still held meaning. Alina regarded him thoughtfully. Memories of his dismissive laughter flooded back, but a calm compassion settled in her chest. She offered him a polite nod. "Thank you, Liam. I appreciate that." He swallowed. "I'd like to catch up sometime. Maybe collaborate." His tone was earnest, regret coloring every syllable. She paused, weighing her response. "Right now," she said gently, "my focus is Nivea and the people who need it. Maybe in the future." She smiled kindly. "I wish you well." Liam nodded, visibly relieved and yet heartbroken in equal measure. He turned and walked away, glancing back once before disappearing through the terrace doors. Bianca followed silently, shoulders hunched, her earlier arrogance evaporated. Alina exhaled, heart surprisingly unburdened. Confrontation had come, and she had met it with grace. The sting of their mockery had faded under the glow of her achievement. Back inside, the after-party unfolded with renewed energy. Cocktails shimmered in underlit glasses, holographic art danced on lounge walls, and a DJ spun an eclectic blend of Afrobeat and electronic rhythms. But Alina felt anchored, her purpose no longer tied to a single moment, but to the journey ahead. She found Ifeoma waiting near a plush sofa, her roommate's eyes shining with pride. "You did it," Ifeoma exclaimed, pulling Alina into a tight hug. "I always knew you would." Alina laughed, hugging her back. "We did it." She turned to Marcus, who stood nearby, arms crossed but smiling broadly. "Come meet the team," she said, leading him across the lounge. Developers and designers clustered around, their faces alight with excitement. Alina introduced each one: Ade, the software architect; Bola, the hardware engineer; Chioma, the UX designer. Each greeted Marcus with gratitude and respect. Marcus shook hands, offering individual praise. "Your work saved Nivea's prototype," he told Ade. "Chioma, your interface design is elegant and intuitive." He paused by Alina. "You assembled an extraordinary team." She felt a surge of warmth. "They believed in Nivea from the start," she said. "I just gave them direction." A senior developer approached, holding a tablet flashing product metrics. "Current user signups have already tripled in the last hour," he reported. "We're trending globally on developer forums and social media." Alina's eyes widened. "Tripled?" She glanced at Marcus again. "This is incredible." Marcus smiled. "Tonight wasn't just a launch. It was a statement. You've set the bar for what inclusive tech can achieve." Alina felt both exhilarated and grounded, exhilarated by the recognition, grounded by responsibility. She had dreamed of transforming lives. Now the world was watching to see if she could deliver. Later, as the gala wound down and guests drifted away, Alina found a quiet balcony overlooking the city. She leaned on the ledge, phone in hand, scrolling through messages of support, family texts, mentor notes, congratulatory emails. Her mother's message read, "So proud of you, my daughter. You light up the world." Her grandmother's voice memo echoed, "Strength is in silence, but your voice is music." She pressed her thumbs to her eyelids, absorbing the moment. In the reflection of the glass, she saw a woman transformed, from the invisible outsider to the celebrated pioneer. But more than external accolades, she felt something deeper, a renewed sense of possibility, a promise to every user who would soon hear Nevia's voice guiding them. Her phone buzzed again, a calendar invite from Marcus for a strategy session at 10 a.m. tomorrow. She tapped accept without hesitation. As the terrace lights dimmed, Alina stepped back inside. She paused at the ballroom entrance, gazing at the now empty stage where her destiny had been proclaimed. The Nevia logo still glowed softly on the screen, as if breathing. She whispered to herself, "Nobody knows you, not anymore." A warm breeze carried her words away, melding with the city's nocturnal symphony. Behind her, the final staff members gathered chairs and silent applause lingered in the polished floors. Above, the night sky stretched vast and open, as if echoing her future. With steady resolve, Alina walked down the center aisle, ready to embrace the unknown chapters yet to be written. The world had discovered her, now it was her turn to discover what she could build next. The end. Love the story? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and become part of the Brandon Tales family. Your support helps us bring more powerful African tales to life. Thanks for watching. We can't wait to share the next one with you. See you soon.